Hello and welcome to Media MD. I'm Reuben Morehouse.
And I'm Elliot Debo.
And each fortnight on Media MD, we bring each other a piece of media that the other person has somehow missed.
That's right. And so it's my turn this week. And so I'm bringing you a movie from...
oh, thank God.
Yes.
No more long books or TV shows to read.
That's right. And this is brought to you from the movie producing studio The Asylum.
Oh,
and
God.
it is Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
Okay, so let's talk about The Asylum for those of us who don't know.
Well, I'll run you through. I actually did some research for this one because I knew a lot of this coming in, but I sort of filled in all my gaps. So first off, I'm sure everyone's heard of Sharknado by now.
Of course.
So it's the same people, but this was obviously before Sharknado, and Sharknado knows that it's a joke, and so I don't like it as much. These movies are better. This was their Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus was actually the studio's first like giant monster attack one,
right?
Before they went crazy with Sharknado and sand sharks and all the shark related things.
It's so weird that sharks have become the staple for B movie kind of sci-fi channel horror movies.
Well, especially like so this movie actually has 3 sequels. There's 4 in the Mega Shark series.
I've already forgotten what it's called. What's
Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
Okay, Mega Shark versus
But the Mega Shark is the one who survives. So the sequel's Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus.
What about Mega Shark versus Mecha Giant Octopus?
No, there's actually Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark is the third one.
I like that.
So you caught on to the theme.
Yeah.
And the plot for that third one is literally they can't beat Mega Shark, so they figure out the only way they could do it is with a robot that's shaped and has the same abilities as Mega Shark.
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't work.
I mean, these are all Godzilla parodies, right? So they all follow the same.
In fact, I got really excited. I'll get to it. I'll get to the upcoming one later. But,
okay.
There's a 5th movie coming out soon that has me very excited. So this was the first sort of one of their big monstery ones, and this was before they realized that they were a complete joke.
Yeah.
So I enjoy laughing at this one a little bit more because it doesn't realize that it's stupid.
Yeah.
Sharknado was sort of that point where they realized that they could just go all out and be as ridiculous as they want, and because that's why people were watching.
Yeah, I draw comparisons to like Birdemic came out a while ago, and that was a not self-aware, brilliant, so bad it's good movie. And then the director went and capitalized on the success and made Birdemic 2, which was self-aware and obviously wasn't as good.
Yeah, and so that's sort of how I feel about Sharknado in respect to this. So I'll go through the whole history. So The Asylum as a studio was started in the early 2000s, and they were sort of doing like cheap horror movies.
When they started, they were doing cheap horror
So when they started, they were
I'll let you keep going before I jump in.
They were doing cheap horror movies. Anyway, and so then, I don't know if you remember, but in 2005, there was a big movie, like The War of the Worlds, had like Dakota Fanning and Tom Cruise. So the same year, they actually brought out a movie that was called H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. And they got an order for like 100,000 units from Blockbuster. And so they sort of realized that they could just capitalize on other big movies coming out.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that led to them doing what they started to call mockbusters. Yeah. Which are just rip-offs of... And so I've actually taken some of the cream of the crop.
Before I just want to jump in with a little personal anecdote here. Right around the time they started doing this, I'd say just after they brought out H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds and started making these mockbusters, I started working at a video store, at a dying video store. And so every so often we would get these movies that were clearly just titled to look like other movies. Yeah. And that's obviously how they made their money. And that's where I first was introduced to The Asylum.
So, I mean, it was clearly just like they take the biggest blockbuster, make their title so similar that like, ignorant grandparents and parents would rent the video or buy it. But anyway, so I've taken...
They would make it with such a low budget as well. That was the point.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's not a very big studio, and they're still pumping out like 8 to 9 movies a year. Like, anyway, so I've gone through their filmography and picked some of the titles that I think just really well summarize this up. So 2005 was H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. That's when they realized they could do mockbusters. So they kicked it off in 2006 with Snakes on a Train.
Sorry. Let me compose myself. I feel like they're all going to be like this.
Yeah. Also that year was the very well-known Da Vinci Treasure movie, which was about a guy who found some clues in Leonardo da Vinci's paintings that led him to some treasure.
What an original idea.
2007 kicked it off with the first one they actually got sued for, which was about giant transforming robots called Transmorphers. Then they also had that year Alien versus Hunter. And 30,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yep,
which is weird to me because that one's free domain by now, so there's no reason to butcher it.
20,000? Yeah.
And they were bringing out other movies like H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, and they've got like other classics that they just bring out as the classic. I don't know why 30,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Do you remember the movie 10,000 BC?
Not really.
Oh, well, you definitely would have forgotten 100 million BC.
Oh, yeah.
Which
I remember that one.
Obviously, like, thousands of times better.
How sad do you have to be to make a mockumentary of a movie that people already don't remember?
And I actually watched this one a few years ago with some friends. And the movie, 100 million BC, is about a team that goes back to the year 53 million BC.
Why? What? Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
So nobody even proofread it.
Nobody even proofread the script.
Which I thought was funny. 2008 saw the release of Alan Quatermain and the Temple of the Crystal Skulls. Again, a movie that wasn't worth ripping off.
Yep.
2008 also had Sunday School Musical.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
A classic.
Wait, is it like religious-based? Like Sunday School?
Yep.
Nice.
Then we had Transmorphers 2, Revenge of Man. Mm-hmm. 2009 was also Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus. So this was when they realized they could do shitty giant monster films. Yeah. And so I discovered the film this year after seeing the trailer online.
You didn't mention some of my favourites, including Lord of the Elves.
No, we haven't got there yet.
Oh, sorry.
2009 also has Paranormal Entity. 2010 saw the release of the much anticipated Titanic 2.
Nice, yeah. That's a good one.
2011, Almighty Thor, part of the Asylum Cinematic Universe.
Did they ever make any other Marvel rip-off ones?
One more later. So 2012 saw Clash of the Empires, which was originally called Legend of Elves. So it was originally called
Lord of the Elves.
And it was originally called Age of the Hobbits. But like Hobbit is actually trademarked by the Tolkien. So they sued them. And these guys argued that they'd named it Age of the Hobbits because of there was actually like some, half height fossils found somewhere in like Papua New Guinea, and they were called like hobbits scientifically. Like the scientific name was like Homo hobbitus or something. Yeah. So they claimed it was named after them, and it was set in the Pacific. But the judge didn't buy it.
Yeah, of course not. Who would buy that?
And I think the saddest thing about that movie is it actually stars Christopher Judge, who you may know as
Stargate.
Stargate.
Oh, there you go.
So I thought that was very depressing to see that was how far he'd fallen. So after that, 2013, we had Atlantic Rim.
That's my favourite one. Yeah.
Android Cop as well.
Android Cop. All right. We've been on this list for a long time.
I've only got three more. So, 2014, there's also one I haven't listed, but that was when they realized that they could start doing 2-for-1s. There was no need to only rip off one movie at a time.
Okay.
So 2015 saw the release of Avengers Grimm, which is doing
Brothers Grimm and Avengers.
And Avengers, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's like Hansel and Gretel make up the Avengers.
What a great...
So then 2016, this year, the funny one was Independence Day, like as in independent. ''S Day.
I was looking at you as you said that. Like, what's the difference? I don't get it. That's a good one.
And then we have three that I'm looking forward to next year, which is Jurassic Kong, which is Jurassic World and King Kong in
classic.
One. Great. Cyber Rangers, because Power Rangers. And then also the fifth in the Mega Shark series, the much anticipated Mega Shark versus Moby Dick. I couldn't even get through it.
Why? What? Do they not understand?
I don't know.
All right. We have to compose ourselves.
But yeah, so I can't wait for Mega Shark versus Moby Dick.
We should have done this as like a game show where you named it and I had to guess what movie it was based on. Anyway.
But yeah, so that's the Asylum.
The Asylum. That sums it up pretty well.
So, I'm very much keen for you to try out Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus. So the way I discovered this movie was somebody linked me the trailer that was on YouTube. And basically the trailer is like there's some person on a plane and they're like complaining about like the food or something, some generic airplane complaint. Yeah. And then they're sort of like in a huff and they look out the window and they're just sort of looking angry. And then there's just this moment where like they suddenly get super shocked. And the camera switches to be looking out the window and there's a shark coming out from beneath the clouds, and it just eats the plane and takes it down. And I was sort of like, that's ridiculous. I need to watch this.
Yeah.
And it's honestly one of the more logical parts of the movie, I'd say.
I don't know. Should we discuss the plot? Is there a plot to discuss?
Not really. I mean, essentially the plot is that Mega Shark...
We should do that after.
Right? Yeah, essentially the plot is Mega Shark is fighting Giant Octopus. So
Okay.
I don't really know that it goes much deeper than that. The rest of it's just kind of weird tack-on crap, but this is not really... the dialogue is particularly bad in this one, but like I said, it's before they knew it was bad, so the actors still have that sense that they're trying a little bit.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. And so there's one great line. I'm probably going to butcher it, but like you'll get to it as well. Like this dude the girl in the movie gives this great sort of monologue about how she's loved the ocean ever since she went swimming with dolphins or something. And it's very beautiful. It's very well written.
It's very heartwarming.
And then the dude who's like her love interest just looks her straight in the eye afterwards and he goes, "Me too." And then they start making out.
Oh man, I feel bad that you ruined that for me.
But don't worry, I think there's plenty more where that came from.
Fair enough. All right, I look forward to watching it. Any more points before I get to it?
No, like I guess except for it was a sci-fi original. I don't know if we want to bring up the sci-fi.
I feel like we've
network.
already covered that. Basically, with the Asylum, it's basically just the same thing, right?
Yeah, they pretty much are, and that's what's disappointing because when sci-fi was created, it was like founded by Gene Roddenberry and
it was
Asimov.
spelt sci-fi instead of SYFY.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the few people who actually thinks that name change made sense.
It does make sense. They have to differentiate themselves from science fiction to just nonsense.
Well, especially because now it's like when I'm ragging on sci-fi because of the way I spelt it, that I'm ragging on the shitty network, not the genre that I love. Like,
fair enough.
But yeah, so I think it's pretty much anything.
Check it out.
Give it a watch. Maybe get intoxicated before you do. I don't know.
Get in some level of inebriation.
I think that'll help.
All right, awesome. Check it out. And we're back. 2 weeks later, and I have watched Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
You lucky dark.
I have to, as I was saying the name, I had to look at my notes just because the name is so generic that I have to double check that I'd gotten it right. Yeah, I saw it. I got through it.
Did you watch it alone, or did you?
I did watch it alone, and I know that with movies like this, with bad movies, it's very much a kind of, and it's similar thing to when you go and see a comedy stand-up or something. If you're in the room, it just feels, you get more of the experience. It feels more like a festive experience, whereas watching it alone, you don't get that same experience for sure.
Yeah, this is probably a movie that would have been enhanced by having other people with it.
Well, things that could enhance it would be good. I mean...
yeah, but that's a long list.
With bad movies, it's hard to judge them because with bad movies, it's not, you don't judge them on a scale from bad to good. You judge them on a scale from boring to good, right?
Yeah.
Because a bad movie can either be entertaining bad or it can just be mind-numbingly bad. No, it's oh, I don't want to watch this, I'm bored watching this, I'm falling asleep watching this. And actually, I was watching this at around, it finished up around 8:30 p.m. and it was... Towards the end, it started to make me tired, so that's not a good sign. And with bad movies, you have to kind of judge it on the scale of, there's always going to be boring parts in any bad movie, right? But it's kind of to
the comically bad parts make up for
exactly, and how frequent are the comically bad parts. And towards the start of the movie, it was... Okay, well, before we dive in, let's do a little plot summary. There is a plot to this movie, but it... basically it's just the title. If you know the title, you know the plot. There's these two prehistoric creatures. One is a mega shark, which is it's some kind of old dinosaur thing.
They call it a megalodon, which is a real ancient shark that was 50 feet long, but in the movie it's a megalodon that's it changes in size.
That's true. It does.
But it seems to be a couple 100 meters.
Yeah, and so this megalodon giant shark and this giant octopus, squid octopus, They make a point. Someone accidentally refers to it as a squid, and all the scientists in the film are like, no, it's an octopus. Both these giant creatures were like frozen in ice in this eternal battle.
Yeah.
And then there was Ice Age, and they got frozen. And now, because of global warming, oh no, the ice caps are melting, and they've thawed out, and now they're back.
Isn't there like there's actually like a specific scene where some scientist is like, this might be nature's way of punishing humanity for what we're doing to the environment.
Hitting defrost on the giant killer animals nature planned it out in advance. It's weird because with a lot of bad movies like this, they seem to have environmental messages. Yeah. Isn't it so strange? Like, you would think that... I mean, I guess there are a lot of bad movies made by people who aren't environmentally conscious and like, you know, like liberal thinking. Yeah. But it seems like bad movies just tend to attract these liberal thinkers.
If you were like a network, or like a movie or television network, and you were trying to convince people like the global warming is not a real thing, showing movies like this would be a great way to do it.
That's a good point.
These are the people who think it's real. Like, they make these movies.
Maybe it's kind of like a backhanded insult. The other thing about it is the main female character and one of the main male characters have this interracial romance, which feels like... This movie was made, what did we say?
It was 2009, I think.
2009. Right, and it's made by people who are clearly incompetent. So you would assume that equates to, like, not liberally thinking, and they wouldn't have this white female and an Asian male get into this relationship and basically have on-screen sex, almost. Yeah. They get pretty close. But they do, and that was a really weird experience for me, thinking, oh, the people who made this movie are actually like thinking liberally and socially progressively, but they just made a terrible movie. They can think about that stuff, but they clearly can't think about how to make a movie.
I mean, you know, it's the 21st century. We've got equality going around. Like, idiots can be liberals too.
Yeah, which is nice. I think that's a real measure of how far our society has come. That idiots can be liberal as well, which is nice. Anyway, let's get back to the plot after that weird little tangent. God, I think we already summed up the plot. These things get defrosted and they like go on a rampage. One of them attacks there's a scene, I think my favourite scene in the movie, which is also in the trailer, which is unfortunate because I already knew this scene was coming. There's a guy flying on a plane, and I think he says he's getting married in 2 days. Or someone else on the plane says that. Just randomly he blurts out, I'm getting married in 2 days. And then this giant shark comes out as if he cursed himself with those words to die. This giant shark comes flying out of the water and just bites the plane in midair and kills everyone.
Do they have... I vaguely remember there's like a throwaway line where like the pilot comes in on the intercom. He's like, we're cruising at 50,000 feet or something. Or just to make sure you understand how high it is.
They give a huge altitude, Anyway, these giant creatures go on a rampage, and then eventually the scientists are like, let's use pheromones to bait them into these traps. So they use these radioactive-looking pheromones to bait these creatures. The shark goes to San Francisco and the octopus to Tokyo Bay, right?
So I'm like, hearing you say this, it is kind of freakishly similar to the plot for that 2014 Godzilla movie, the most recent Godzilla movie.
I mean, they ripped off this, obviously. I mean, the idea of having mega creatures was original to this asylum movie.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So they bait these creatures and try and capture them, and they fuck it up. And eventually they're like, oh, I know, maybe we'll like get them to fight each other, and that will solve our problem. Yeah. Living up to the title, and then they use the pheromones to bait them into fighting each other, and then they fight each other, and something happens. I can't really remember. One of them goes away, and then they both go away. I don't know.
No, I vaguely remember. It's like they both try to eat submarines at one point, but they're mostly fighting each other, and then I think it's like giant octopus like strangles Mega Shark, but at the same time doesn't Mega Shark like
he like bites off some of his tentacles.
He bites the octopus off, so it's implied that he bled to death. I guess
I don't even know. They fight, and that's basically the point of the movie, is setting up to this fight, which is only like a minute. I mean, the fight goes on for a long time, but most of it is just shots of these people in submarines being like, oh, they're going to fight now. Oh, now they're going to fight. And it's like, okay, just show us the actual fight. But let's get back to my judgment of the movie. This is about an hour and a half movie.
Yep.
I'd say the first hour is slow, boring, and then they introduce this character who's like a really racist, really...
Oh, I remember. He's like the army
Yeah, he's like the army guy.
Yeah.
And he is so... I mean, he's a funny character. He's just so off the wall that he saves it, I think. He says things like to the Japanese scientist character, he says, like, if you don't fix this, you're going to have to do he calls it a hairy carry. But what he means is hirikari, where the Japanese samurai would fall on their sword and kill themselves. And he just says these really bizarre lines in a really like over the top accent. It's good. It's the best part of the movie in my opinion. God, yeah. So there are a lot of good parts, like the scene on the airplane. That's a good part, even though it was a bit spoiled. The scene you mentioned in the first part of the episode where the female scientist and the Asian scientist are like falling in love, and she confesses this huge love story to him, and he's like, "Yeah, me too." And then they start making out. That was pretty good. There are a lot of lines like that, but they're too interspersed during the first 2/3 of the movie, and then during the second 2/3 of the movie, I mean, during the final third of the movie, I don't know. There are good moments, but I think on the whole they aren't enough to sustain it, in my opinion.
Sure. I remember there was one other scene I liked, which is I think they found like a whale carcass or something.
Yeah.
On the beach.
Yeah.
And it's just like this really shitty CSI
it's
rip-off. Like they've got the
CSI
guy with the
rip-off.
sunglasses and he's cracking one-liners, but they're not good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of just weird stupidity, but not in a funny way, in like that's just stupid and it's not entertaining kind of way, you know? Although there are parts that are funny, stupid. But here's the thing about movies like this as well. You want them to be carried a bit by their bad CGI.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll get laughs from just how terrible, how bad the CGI is that people thought that was passable as something in a movie.
Yeah.
And Birdemic is another really good example of this with the gifs of the birds flying around. And I feel like this movie, instead of having on-screen bad CGI, which they do sometimes, a lot of the times when like the giant shark or the giant octopus is attacking, they'll just have like a shot of an eye and then a lot of noise and camera shaking around the set, and then it'll kind of cut away. And so you don't really get the full experience of, wow, this is bad. They've got bad things on the screen for me to laugh at. It's just kind of noisy and messy.
Well, I mean, I guess that was part of it. Like I was sort of saying, this is before the Asylum gave up and lent into how shit they were.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, this came before Sharknado, which I guess does that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think Sharknado was their tipping point where they started realizing that people were only watching their movies because they thought they were shit.
Yeah, but the thing about Sharknado is that they're intentionally bad, and that also takes away a lot of the fun.
And I agree, but yeah, like I guess compared to like really bad movies like your Neil Breen and your Tommy Wiseau ones, like this one's possibly just like a little bit too good to be as enjoyable as they are. Like
it's like the Uncanny Valley kind of thing. There's good movies and then bad movies that are boring, and then it kind of kicks up a bit at the other end. So if you're bad enough, you can be entertaining. But if you just have a little bit of, like, instead of admitting that it's bad CGI and putting it on the screen, you try and mask it by doing shaky cam or whatever.
Yeah.
That pushes it just away from entertaining enough to put it back into the boring category. And that's what I'd say about this movie. On the whole, a lot of it is just shots of scientists doing science. And that's just kind of boring. And you're watching them. There's like 3 or 4 different science montages where people will like pour chemicals. And it has a lot of quick cuts between these random science things. And that's not fun to watch. But then you have the stupid parts which carry it. But then you go back to like every couple of shots, they'll just put in a shot of like a bird flying or something just to show off, this is nature that we're talking about. And it's just kind of, exactly. They'll have like shots of birds or shots of dolphins going through the water just to, I assume, pad out the movie with stock animal footage. I mean, I can't think of why else they would do it. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say on the whole, more boring than it is funny. It does have its redeeming moments, but not enough to save it, I would say.
Fair enough. Well, so you're going to give it a final rating out of 10?
Yes, I give it a 7 out of 10.
Damn, with all this negative talk, I thought I was even going to be happier with lower than 7. It's just not a 7.
I can't not give it a 7. It's the tradition. No, if I was actually going to rate it, I mean, it got pushed too far into the boring category for me, so it would probably get a low rating, like a 4, or a 5. Just because I can't.
It's not a 7.
That's what you're aiming
still
for.
Happy.
I can't. I wouldn't recommend it because the entertaining moments just aren't enough to carry it over. So the rating just has to fall lower to like a 4.
Yeah, fair enough.
4 out of 10. And so the curtain is drawn on another episode of Media MD. That's the sound a curtain makes. Why not? So we have a Twitter, Media MD at MediaMD Podcast.
Yep.
So tweet at us. We have an email address, mediamdpodcast@gmail.com. And we also hopefully have a website, which is mediamdpodcast.com. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool.
mediamdpodcast.com.
Yep. So go on over there, get in touch with us if you want. Check out our back catalogue. And make sure to like us and rate us on iTunes so we can get that sweet rating money on iTunes.
Wait,
that's not
what?
a thing.
Oh, damn it.
So next week we'll be checking out the African-American comedy The Boondocks.
See you then.
Yeah.